Uh, really excited to be here today with Toby Richardson, my co-worker and friend. Welcome everyone. This is Curiosity's Q4 platform update webinar. It's the last one of the year, and we've got some really awesome things to show off today. So firstly, let me introduce you to Toby Richardson, who I've just mentioned. Toby is a test data expert and solutions engineer with over 8 years of experience working with the world's largest enterprises to solve test data throughout challenges across the whole software delivery lifecycle with now the help of AI and modeling. And of course, you have myself. My name is Mantas Vedatskas. I'm your host and also the digital marketing manager at Curiosity Software, where I've been leading the digital marketing strategy and building successful campaigns within the test data and software delivery space for over 5 years now. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Let's get right into it. Okay, so just before I pass it on to Toby, I just want to tell you a little bit about Curiosity. As always, at Curiosity, we set a global standard for test data management, empowering enterprises to unlock the full potential of their data. Our AI-powered test data platform helps organizations overcome complexity, legacy, scale, and regulatory compliance challenges. Our 3-step approach, Discover, Act, Monitor, helps you go beyond simple data discovery. It helps you design and deliver your data. And finally, it helps you proactively govern your whole data landscape. And all of that is done with the acceleration of AI tools such as AI generation, analysis, and copilots. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say for now. You'll hear from me later, but Toby, please take it away.
Yep. So here at Curiosity, we really start with, as Mantas was saying, our Discover. We have a very systematic approach in how we approach nearly all of our test data problems. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go and scan, verify, and validate all your different data sources throughout your data landscape, whether that's JSON files in a data lake, whether you've got some data warehouses, some SQL in one of your cloud providers, maybe you've got a data platform like Databricks. We will go around and we will scan everything and then actually ingest it into our system and create a centralized data catalog, which can then be used to power all our subsequent test data activities. Now, it's not just the relationships within those data sources that we can find. We can also identify relationships in between our data sources. So if we've got a JSON file in our data lake, as I mentioned before, we can find relationships to a database or a lakehouse within your data landscape. We can also go into that data and look at the data quality. We can validate the data and make sure that it is good data for our testing, which is really important for our testing industries and also pretty much any industry which touches data. We can then do things like identify PII data, identify the sensitive data, and then we can also categorize that and start to build business contexts out of it. So, for instance, identifying where a user within our system would be and identifying where all those different data points are throughout our data landscape. Now, we can use our AI abilities to start to create our rules for our synthetic data generation. We can use some of our advanced neural networks to actually start building models, which can then go and generate the data for us. This is really useful for creating training data sets for other AI tools. And then we can also start to model out those capabilities, really getting a nice visual understanding of our different scenarios. And especially when it comes to our test cases, quite often the test cases are actually different combinations of data. And then once we have that data, we can then go and find it and allocate it for our test cases, for our automation, our test automation frameworks, however we want to go and use that data. So perfect. And then if we go on to the next one, so what does this actually look like? So as I was mentioning, our data catalog, this is very important for a lot of data governance organizations. It's really important to know where your data is and where the sensitive data is and how that is important and used for your other data teams. Then we can go and provide that data in a number of different ways, whether that's data virtualization, whether it's creating synthetic data, whether it's actually providing mass data. We can then go and give this to whichever teams which need it. And it can be for a variety of different things. It can be databases, it can be lake houses, it can be ERPs, it can be training sets for LLM or any other sort of AI technology. And bringing this all together in one centralized location means that different teams can get the data which they need to be and work in their own independent and incredibly fast and flexible teams. So now that I've just kind of given you an overview of the of our platform, it'd be great to go into some of our new features, which and two of one I wanted to actually go into today. So the first one is XML choices. So we work with organizations who have incredibly complex and also dynamic XML files. You especially find this in Swift or Paint messages, for instance. Now, what we've done is previously it was very complicated to actually write the logic which would change the structure of those XML messages depending on your test criteria. Now, what we've actually done is we have brought this into the tool and made it a lot more visually easier to actually access. Now, this is really useful. It means that we can dynamically create different XML messages depending on our test criteria. And I will actually, if I just go and share my screen, I can actually go and show you how easy this can be in our tool now. So what we have here is a visual representation of your XML structure. And as you can see, I filtered to our choice groups. Now here we've got a choice in here called a choice, and we can actually have a customer description, or we could have a party here within our message. And we can just start to go into different ones. Here we can have a originator ID or a private ID provided for our customer. And we can just go into here and we can see how these structures can also be have different bits into them. So these structures can be nested, they can be quite large. And this is actually introduces a lot of complexity into these XML messages that we are generating. Now we can now put this into a pipeline where here we can see we are generating that XML message that I was showing some of the choice elements into here. We're looking at these different elements within the document and how they all interact together. And what this means is I ran this pipeline earlier before the webinar, and this means that we can then go and generate a XML message here. And depending on the different test criteria, we can put different bits into the XML message. So for instance, if I go to here and I can actually go and model out this message, we can, sorry, wrong one. Yeah, so as we can see here, we're generating here, and as I showed previously before here, all these different choice elements here that we've got, these will have different interactions and different ways that the XML message itself will be generated. So that this is actually really useful in terms of these choices of how we can have these XML messages, and they can dynamically be created and have different structures depending on our test criteria. The next one I wanted to talk about quickly is actually our EDI file support. So we've now added the ability to create EDI files. Now this is in response to we're working with a lot of healthcare companies at the moment, and what they're doing with a lot of their systems, they actually communicate with EDI files. Now EDI files are very big files, and they can be quite complex and need some of the. And what we're finding is our tool is uniquely positioned to actually provide the rich EDI files that our customers and clients need. So we can actually start to create these EDI files using very similar methodology to what we have in our other formats. So, for instance, JSON, XML. So, if I go to a EDI model test data pipeline here, we can see that it is quite similar. I can go and this is for a T834 file. And we can see this looks exactly the same as the XML message that we were just creating. So in this example, we've actually got some more conditional logic around. So if I was to go and run this form and say, okay, I've got some choices in here that I can do. I can override my run ID. I can choose my maintenance types, my medical, or if it's for a dental message. And all of these kind of parameters that I'm filling out will actually affect the message that has been created. So we can see here that I was creating a EDI file here. Now what we've actually done is in this EDI file, we've actually broken it up into different sections to actually help with the complexity. Now what we can do is, again, I ran this earlier for this webinar, and we can actually go and have a look at this EDI file, which has been created by a synthetic data generation routine. If you guys are familiar with EDI files, we can see that the asterisks are being used as the delimiter. This indication you can have other delimiters, and this has been really useful for a lot of our healthcare clients, and is being used, for really a lot in our healthcare industries. And these EDI files, we can build up data dictionaries of them. We can integrate them in our central data catalog. They pretty much function in exactly the same way as far as our tool is concerned for creating a XML message. So what that would mean, for instance, is if we go and look at the rule set in here, you can see that we have our generation rule set, which is similar to any other kind of message or database generation we have. And then you can see some of these synthetic data generation rules that we have got in here for here. So that is just showing you a little look at our EDI file generation, just like our other message formats, whether that be JSON, whether that be an XML. You can also integrate this with our modeling capabilities, our test data pipeline capabilities, and also all of these generation routines that I've shown you can be kicked off through a API or can be included in this iframe, and that means that they are fully integratable with any sort of test automation framework, or if we want to put these into a CI/CD pipeline. So those are the two features that I really wanted to draw your attention to. Other important things which will be in the release notes is we've now, one thing which has been really useful is we've actually added support for Azure Key Vault. So that's been really important for our clients who have now moved to the cloud and want to make sure they're using the best practices really when it comes to security. We have also made a lot of improvements to the optimizer for generating paths for large models. And this is in response to some of our clients who are really pushing the boundaries with the size of the models. So that's it for the features that I wanted to talk to you about. So if we go to, and I've just shown a bit of a demo. So if we go to the next slide, Mantis, should be a complete TDM platform. So that's perfect, and I believe it's over to yourself now.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Toby. That's some really interesting, quite complex looking data models there, which actually I thought I'll ask you while we're here, get early little Q&A here, is that at least from my perspective, I've used the tool. I know modeling is super simple, but those data models there, specifically those file generation models, did look quite complex. Would you say they're complex? How would you go about creating one of those?
Yes, it's a good question. So we have a lot of accelerators within the tool. So we can integrate with LLM models, so like GPT-05, and then we can actually use that to help us break down those message structures and actually automatically have a first go at creating a model for those messages. Now, again, we can also use the LLMs to actually review those models. We actually have quite a lot of agents within the tool, which can actually go and look at those models and say, okay, from a security analyst perspective, like if we're talking about requirements, have I missed out any requirements here? We can also ask those models, have I incorporated such and such scenario into the model, and therefore can allow us to create that data and therefore make sure that we have got as much coverage as possible. Also, we have a lot of accelerators which can build out the models, even if we don't have the AI technology. We can also actually do it from the data and the metadata that we've actually got from our data catalog. So, for instance, we may know what kind of statuses that are within the data, and therefore we can model out those. So yeah, like I know the models look complicated, but we have a lot of acceleration, and because that's in that visual model, it's actually a great way to reduce the complexity and make sure that everyone understands what's going on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Toby. That yeah, helps me quite a lot. Hopefully helps our viewers today as well. But yeah, with everything that Toby's presented and I've spoken about so far today, I hope we've shown you how Curiosity are pushing the boundaries of test data management. Over the last 3 decades, our team has pioneered market-defining technologies. We lead in the test data management space by, delivering innovation in 4 key areas. Those being, building out that centralized data catalog and the capabilities around that, introducing AI acceleration and deep learning, deep scanning capabilities, continuing to focus on data design and modeling, which is a really key piece of our platform. And finally, of course, putting all of that and having robust data governance around all of those capabilities, around all the data in your ecosystem. And all of those capabilities combine to really deliver that end-to-end toolkit, combining synthetic data generation, cloning, masking, provisioning, virtualization, and everything else that you can think of under the sun when it comes to test data management, all in one solution, our enterprise test data platform. And, we also have the results to back it up, of course, right? From saving 8.9 million in provisioning costs 1 year in a global 100 bank to saving £300,000 in just one project at a top 10 central bank. Data-rich enterprises across the globe are using enterprise test data to really deliver quality data faster than ever. And that kind of leads us to the Q&A section part. So please, if you have any questions, please leave them in chat and let us know. But as Toby has already answered one question, I hope to ask another, which is kind of what should our users, the people who use the platform, kind of expect in 2026 when it comes to new features, to developments? Are there any exciting AI developments along the way, or any cool features that will come soon?
So a few things that I'm really excited about which are coming up is we are revamping our machine learning data activities. So what this will allow is if you have a production data set, what you'll be able to go and do is actually look at that data set, use that as a training data set, and then use our machine learning algorithms to actually produce statistically similar data. And then that data set can be scaled up or scaled down and actually provisioned to whatever kind of environment you need. And that's got massive advantages over, for instance, a masking solution where you wouldn't really have the control of increasing the size of the data set, but also actually keeping that statistically similar properties for a smaller data set. And also all the data that you use is nice and safe and secure, much more secure than masked data. We're also massively expanding our AI assistant capabilities in terms of the interactivity. So that's also something that I'm quite excited to see. So I think the message for next year is, even though we are very AI powered platform, and this is probably quite similar to a lot of things within the industry, is making AI really much more at the heart of everything that we do. And we're also massively expanding our data cataloging abilities. So watch the space around there. I believe there will be more information around tracking the data, how that data is going to be provisioned, and then making sure we've got that nice audit trail, which is incredibly important for data governance.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Toby. That's really, really good answer and some really interesting things to look forward to. Just checking chat now.
And
yeah, just got a little chat. Sorry, Toby. Asking if we could share, tutorial or suggest any videos which we can give an overview of ISO 20022, if that's how you say it, message creation. Now, actually, we have quite a lot of content on ISO in terms of we've run a couple of webinars. We have a couple of blogs that really go over that, message creation for ISO specific scenarios. So I can definitely share that with you. So yeah, feel free, look out for a little email from us on that. But Toby, can you speak a bit about ISO? I know actually you worked for one of our central bank customers for a really long time, so I think you're quite familiar with ISO.
Yeah, so we led a project which was all about creating the different ISO Swift messages throughout one of the top central banks. What we found was really at the core of it was the ability to model out all of the different use cases. And what we very quickly found was your test cases really actually became differences in the data and those XML messages. And XML choices are going to be massively useful when producing all these different kinds of ISO messages. So yeah, what we're currently doing is we're producing something like 10,000 different Swift messages per day for the testing teams. And for the projects that we're using this test data, all the projects that were using us, they were running on time and they were cost efficient. Now we were doing a bit of a test and we were running with some comparative projects at the same time, and those projects were not running on time and their costs absolutely spiraled. One of the big reasons for that was because they didn't have the test data that they needed and therefore didn't have the coverage. So they had more bugs. They had massive bottlenecks. So it's one of actually our biggest use cases of producing messages. So the content that Mantis we are to send over will be really useful. And if you want to go deeper, I can either organize myself or or one of my colleagues who also worked on that project to really give you a much more deeper dive into the different messages and how they can be used.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Toby. As Toby said, we have so much experience in ISO and Swift messages, all of that. We'll love to get a chat, get a little call, talk you through, share content with you. But I think it'll be a good time here to start to wrap it up, which is, sadly to say that, that's all the time we have. That's all the updates we have for today. So thanks again, everyone, for your questions and for Toby for the presentation today. If you'd like to carry on the conversation following our webinar, there are a number of ways you can get in touch. First, you can get in touch with either Toby or myself on LinkedIn or via email. We're both super keen to test data and testing. So please, feel free to reach out. I would love to get in a call. Additionally, you can visit the Curiosity website to learn more about our platform, our solution, see more of our content. You can also follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date with our latest updates. And again, just to reiterate, all of the links and the slides will be shared, and the recording will be shared in a follow-up email tomorrow. Now, additionally, if you want to learn more, please join us on our next webinar, Why Every Organization Needs an AI Data Manager in 2026, where we'll be exploring the AI space, theory crafting, seeing what is possible, what might be possible, and see, what we already do kind of situation, right? So that'll be going live next year on the 21st of January at 4 p.m. GMT, featuring Toby and Hugh Price. And if you join, you'll learn all about intelligent AI agents and how they can help you overcome data complexity, improve coverage and understanding, and stay ahead of regulatory demands. Register today by visiting our website, and we hope to see you there. And so all that remains to be said is huge thank you for everyone for joining, and a massive thank you for Toby for presenting today. Look out for some emails from us tomorrow. So see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye.